Huh? Oh. I guess the new season has started up. About time. Hey everyone, Brobuscus here, and welcome back to another Let's Watch of Death Battle. Today's episode, we got the Season 10 premiere. I am so excited. We're finally back. We got Henry Pym, Hank Pym, the Ant-Man, versus Ray Palmer, the Atom. Now, before we jump right in, of course, there should be a link in the description below. You can go watch the actual episode yourself. Go support the official release before watching some random guy YouTube react to it, okay? Got it? Cool. So, yes, finally, Death Battle is back. It has been so long, but we're finally back. So, you have to forgive me if I'm a little rusty. It's been 5 months. And I'm also gonna, just for the record, I'm gonna be trying something a little new with these reactions. Nothing, if it works, it shouldn't be too much of a change for you. But basically, I am recording myself watching it, the webcam. And instead of doing something like this, I am just gonna record me watching the episode, and then when I'm done, I will record the episode again, but just the episode, so it'll be better for audio syncing. I'm saying that because if I screw it up, that's why. It's just so that I make sure I can balance the audio better. So that said, Hank Pym versus Ray Palmer. This is not Scott Lang. This is not Ryan Choi. This is Hank Pym Ant-Man versus Ray Palmer Atom. So with that being said, how do I know these characters? Well, I like to think I'm a pretty big fan of Marvel. I've seen most of the movies. I'm trying to catch up, but I've fallen behind a little bit. I'm trying to catch up. I have not seen Quantumania yet. I've heard it's really bad, but I'm still probably gonna watch it. It can't be worse than Eternals. Eternals was awful. But I have seen the other two Ant-Man movies. I think they're both pretty good. Hank in general as a character in those movies is neat. Obviously he's not Ant-Man, but he is he's still the big scientist character, kind of. Most of Hank as Ant-Man that I've seen is from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which I actually watched in the lead up to this episode. And I thought it was pretty good. But yeah. And Hank as a character in that is really fascinating, honestly. I like the idea of him like being somewhat of a pacifist, but still fighting for the sake of the world, for the sake of saving the world. And he does hold a deep respect to all the Avengers, but and then he goes through like this, like he starts tumbling deeper into the violence, basically. So he goes from Ant-Man to Yellow Jacket, which I'm actually curious how they're going to handle some of Hank's other alter egos in this fight. So like, will they include his time as the Wasp? Will they include his time as Yellow Jacket? Obviously Giant Man is going to be a thing, but that's basically Ant-Man, but huge, you know? But yeah, I can say with full confidence that I do really like Hank as a character from both like the MCU, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I have not seen Avengers Assemble. I don't know how he is in that, if he is even in that. Yeah, I think Hank is a really neat character. I think the character of Ant-Man, whether it be as Hank or as Scott, is neat. It's funny because like when I saw that they were making an Ant-Man movie, I was like, really? Like, I didn't know anything about Ant-Man to start, but I thought like just the idea of like someone who shrinks down to the size of an ant, I thought that was the dumbest idea for a superhero ever, but they made him into a really cool character. As for Adam, as for Ray Palmer, most of my experience with him comes from the CW show, the Arrowverse, as it's called. And in that, he is such a goober, and I love him. He is really funny. He's really just goofy. I'm also familiar with him from Justice League Unlimited. I didn't watch a lot of it. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I did watch the show a few years ago, but I tried to get into their cartoons, more into their cartoons, in the lead up to this episode, and I didn't get very far into Justice League proper, the original Justice League cartoon. So I can't say but at the same time, I did see the clips of the Atom from Justice League Unlimited, and he's pretty neat. Yeah. So I can say with full confidence that I do think that these characters are neat. They're not my favorites ever, but they're cool. I like them. So with that said, you see the stuff. Who do I want to win? Who do I think is going to win? Well, who I want to win? Honestly, I'm kind of fine with either of them winning. I don't really have a strong preference one way or the other, but my Marvel bias is kicking in, so I'm gonna have to go with Ant-Man for who I want to win. For who I think is going to win, well, that is the $1.5 million question, because I don't think anybody is really that confident in their pick. But for me, okay, so I think on a baseline level, I think their physical stats, strength, speed, and durability, I think those are going to be pretty much even. Like I don't think that this fight is going to be won by strength or speed alone. Like Hank has fought, people like Thor and the Hulk and Namor. Adam has fought like Wonder Woman. Like they've gone up against pretty similar threats, and like Hank has, Hank went in the overspace, which is basically a universe above. That's why it's called the overspace. And he accesses it by growing really, 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 really big. Which that's actually a big thing. Hank can grow, Ray can't. Which is interesting to me. Although I feel like that might play into Adam's favor more than Hank's, but we'll see. But anyways, as I was saying, in the overspace, like Hank can take a punch from Eternity, who is a Celestial, but Adam, in like a future timeline or whatever, was able to fight Darkseid with the anti-life equation. So again, it just kind of evens out. I guess if I had to pick, maybe Ant-Man probably has a slightly higher, slightly stronger, maybe, but I don't think it's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Or at the very least, I don't think it's going to be the one determining factor. I think what this is going to come down to is their arsenals, their intellect, and their skill. And obviously their powers. They shrink real good. As far as the shrinking goes, I'm not too sure. It seems like both are relatively comparable in that regard, but from what I've heard, this could be wrong, but from what I've heard, Hank being able to like scan, I'm not quite sure how this works. So basically what I've heard is Hank will always be able to ensure that he is smaller. Because like I'm pretty sure he can like scan Ray's mind or something, or scan Ray's powers, and figure out. So he shrinks real good. He shrinks down to this. I need to shrink down to this. In order to match it and overmatch it, or I guess undermatch it in this case. I don't know. Although one thing that does kind of tip me off is so Ray can shrink down to where he accesses a universe called the Microverse, which obviously, while not the same, the term Microverse, like the concept of a Microverse does exist in Marvel, but there's also a universe smaller than that called Underspace, which Hank can shrink down to. So if that evens out, then maybe Hank can shrink a little bit smaller. But again, I'm not quite sure how that works. This is a very complicated match, so I'm kind of like basing this off of what I've heard, what I've read on like the prediction blog and whatnot. As far as intellect goes, neither of them are going to have a solid advantage, but I think Hank overall is relatively smarter. He is dubbed Earth's Scientist Supreme by Eternity, and he's got he's been stated by many people to have a mind on the level of like Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Stephen Strange. So he's really, really, really dang smart. Meanwhile, Ray, while he doesn't have some fancy title, he is compared to like he has been stated by Superman to have one of the most brilliant minds on the planet, and he's like ever so slightly less like he's been compared to like Lex Luthor, but Lex is just like an incy bit smarter. But even still, just being compared to Lex means that Ray is really, really, really dang smart. But I think just being the Scientist Supreme, just having that title, obviously it's a title, but just comparing the two minds, I think Hank might be a little smarter, but I'm not sure how much it's gonna really factor in. As far as their skill is concerned, as far as their like abilities in a fight, I think that's an easy win for Hank because Ray has been trained by the likes of Captain America, who is one of the greatest martial artists in Marvel. And even before Hank joined the Avengers and Adam joined the Justice League, they both trained in judo, but Hank trained in like karate and wrestling. So just off the bat, I think Hank is probably the better hand-to-hand fighter. Obviously, Ray has like melee weapons. Like he has a sword that can poison people and boil their blood, which is gruesome, but okay. But you know, it's possible that Hank will be able to disarm him of that with his better knowledge of hand-to-hand combat. As far as their arsenals is concerned, so I think in a way this kind of reminds me of Wanda versus Zatanna in a way, but obviously I think Wanda versus Zatanna relied on it more, but is basically looking at their weaknesses and looking at looking at the exploitable parts of their arsenals. Obviously, if Ray destroys Hank's helmet, then he won't be able. I'm pretty sure he won't be able to communicate with his ants anymore. That's another thing. I'm pretty sure Hank has a massive numbers advantage with the ants and other insects he can summon. What was I saying? Oh yeah. But if Ray destroys the helmet, then I'm pretty sure Hank loses communication with his army. But even then, I'm pretty sure his army has come to help him, even without being told to. So I don't know. Maybe that's not going to be too much of a factor. Ray's thing, however, is the bio belt. Basically, it's the source of all of his power. Basically, it's the source of him being able to shrink real good. It's the source of him being able to summon things out of what seems like nowhere, but obviously they're shrunk. But if you destroy it, or if you get rid of it, then Ray pretty much is helpless. He loses all of his abilities. He loses all of his gadgets and whatnot. And okay, I think I've made my point. I think I've made my overall point pretty clear. I'm kind of siding with Ant-Man here. Obviously, I'll wait till after. Obviously, you know, we have to wait till the analysis. But before we watch it, I'm going with Ant-Man. And the reason why is because I think he's smarter. I think he is. He's got a numbers advantage. He's a better hand-to-hand fighter. And I think what's gonna happen is, I think his ants are gonna outnumber and overwhelm Ray. And some of them might shrink down and because they also have pin particles, and they might be able to shrink down and enter Ray's bio belt and disable it. Either that or Hank does it himself. and then basically shut down Ray's option of victory. So I'm going with Ant-Man. It's possible that I'm wrong, but it's actually very possible that I'm wrong. But I say we stop talking and we jump right into it. So I've been waiting way too long for this episode.
Ant-Man, Marvel's founding member of the Avengers.
The Atom, DC's legendary Mighty Might.
Good things come in small packages.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
We're just trying to get these out of the way.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win
a death battle. Alright, that should be able to sync it up.
Did you know that ants can lift 50
Oh, also
tons of
Tiki's
body
editing
weight?
this one,
That'd
which
be
is
like
really
you lifting
fun.
a car straight over your head.
I did, thanks to my fun fact of the day calendar. Also, Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada yesterday.
Well, I bet your calendar didn't tell you
Okay.
that Dr. Henry Pym, aka Hank, was considered a genius at a very early age. By 3 years old, doctors declared that he was smarter than both his parents combined.
He eventually majored in biochemistry and became one of the most successful scientists in his field. He had big
biochemistry,
ideas about shrinking the size of
major in
cargo to
cybernetics
reduce
minor.
shipping costs.
That's judo, karate, and wrestling.
Logistics.
All of which made
Okay,
him
I
a
didn't get to read all of that.
laughingstock in the scientific community and sparked a long-lasting insecurity and need to prove himself.
But he did it. He
Oh yeah, I'm
developed a
wearing my
working
Deadpool
serum. He went from
shirt.
laughing
I didn't mean
stock
to do that.
Christmas stocking, the much better stuck, right behind Bean and Live.
So, naturally, he tested the serum on himself, like any
You know, of
self-respecting
course.
scientist would,
Of course.
and shrank down to the size of an ant.
And just when things started going south, a sweet little ant, let's call her Aunt Hathaway, swooped in and led Hank safely
Wait,
back
what
to
was
his
that
lab
note?
where he could return to full size.
Hank then harnessed the serum and became the superhero
Ant-Man.
Along with his new identity came a fascination in entomology, which makes total sense. Ants are fascinating.
Did you know that ants can talk to each other in a bunch of different ways? Through touch, sound, or even sharing information by barfing at each other.
It's actually called
Nope.
trophallaxis, and they're not barfing per se. It's more like passing food mouth to mouth.
Gross! Hank figured out how to communicate with his new pets, not by barfing, but by creating a cybernetic
Thank God.
that mirrors an ant's antenna. And he's even developed genuine relationships with some ants, like Ulysses.
Wait,
S.
is,
Grant.
But he didn't
are those
stop
are those the
there.
new
He developed a lot of
black
amazing
boxes?
tech like a stinger pistol that focuses his bioenergy into a stun beam and image-inducing camouflage to mask himself as an ant. It worked so well it fooled.
Oh, no, there they are.
He was the smartest guy on the planet.
He also built a suit that runs on that nifty serum he made back in his lab. It lets him shrink thanks to the newly discovered Pym particles, named after himself. Ah,
Of
classic
course.
Hank.
And the Pym particle is the key to unlocking the fundamental constants of the quantum mechanics at play here. They enable you to decrease the distance between atoms. However, in order to do that, he'd have to change the Bohr radius, the ratio of electron mass to the distance the electrons orbit an atom's nucleus.
Okay.
Of course. Like how when you make a bagel pizza, you can't fit the whole pizza on the bagel. Believe me, I've tried. It's too small. You just gotta put less on.
Sure, Boomstick. So the Pym particles are actually displacing mass to an alternate dimension in order to maintain that ratio.
Oh, it's like having a second bagel to put the rest of your pizza on. I get it.
But if that were true, he shouldn't be able to punch with full-size strength if he has less mass.
And he's definitely lighter, because otherwise he'd crush the sweet ants he rides, like Vincent Van Gogh here.
His mass is being replaced with massless neutrinos, but that doesn't adequately explain how he can have less mass and seemingly more mass at the same time.
Sure it does, Wiz. Trust Pym and his particles. Look at the guy. He's explaining the whole thing while wearing
Boomstick,
a
what's with the
lab
getup?
coat. What's more trustworthy than that? You're the exception.
You think you understand this?
Oh, of course. He's small but strong. You said something about a boar, so I guess you wanted ham on that pizza, but I already made the pizza.
Will you take that coat off?
No. Oh.
Regardless,
All right.
there is virtually no limit to Hank's ability to shrink. He can go beyond subatomic down to the underspace, a plane of existence below all realities in the Marvel Universe.
And Hank has literally changed his biology. He's rewritten his own chemical makeup to prevent anyone else from changing his size. And he's used Pym particles so much, he's now got an energy field around him that lets him change the size of people or objects on the fly, through touch or by straight up firing Pym particles in the air.
He's never shy about using them either. He eventually supplied his wife, Janet Van Dyne, with some Pym tech to become the Wasp, his partner in crime fighting.
The two ended up rubbing shoulders with A-listers like Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk to take down Loki. Ant-Man and the Wasp were actually the ones that captured him and pitched the idea of forming the Avengers.
Unfortunately, Hank's insecurities started to creep back in, and he felt that if he wanted to keep up with the big heroes, he was going to have to think bigger.
Enter a bunch of those Pym-powered alter egos like Yellow Jacket and Giant Man, where he can grow anywhere from 12 feet tall to so big he can enter the overspace, the polar opposite of
Called
the
Reed
underspace.
Richards a
There he
bitch
met
to his
Eternity,
face.
who called him Earth's Scientist Supreme. Something he won't let you forget.
Hank pushed himself to these insane heights, even though he knew the strain on his body could be fatal.
But he simply didn't care and kept pushing himself. Thus, his greatest and worst creation was born, Ultron.
Yeah.
Well, the Tin Man Tron was created by Hank, not Tony like the movies. But the mass murder butt thing turned out pretty much the same. Big
Yeah.
swing and a miss there.
The fallout from Ultron left Hank in a bad place, to say the least. His guilt made him feel like an utter failure, and that his best work was behind him. This led Hank to do unspeakable things.
A real low-life move.
Yeah.
And even though poor mental health doesn't excuse this behavior, it was clear that Hank needed help. He suffered multiple mental breakdowns, endured the physical toll of the Pym particles, and had bipolar disorder that went undiagnosed for years.
So
Oof.
Hank finally did the best thing he could. He acknowledged his problems, got the help he needed, and committed to self-improvement.
And with that help, Hank slowly started making things right. He rebuilt the West Coast Avengers, gave Scott Lang his blessing to become the second Ant-Man, and finally defeated Ultron.
He created a backdoor
Indeed.
Trojan infiltration code to defeat Ultron that was so advanced, it went on to replicate and evolve all on its own to create a new species made up of artificial intelligence.
They don't call him the god of modern AI for nothing. Hank has showed over and over again that he's an integral part of the Marvel Universe.
Not just by ways of his scientific contributions or victories in battle, but by proving that heroes come in all shapes and sizes.
Hey. I like that.
Ray Palmer was born.
All right,
a
Ray, let's see what you got.
human-sized person. He grew up in the Northeast, studied physics at Ivy University.
Originated the myth of
and did
Aladdin's
everything
lamp.
Mama and Papa
Wow, okay,
told him
these
to do.
slates are going by a little fast.
Everything was pretty typical for Ray until one fateful night when he took a walk to take his mind off a frustrating experiment and saw a meteor fall from the sky.
He ran off to the crash and found himself a life-changing piece of a white dwarf star. And
Indeed.
immediately started messing around with it. Who wouldn't?
He discovered that he could focus ultraviolet rays through it and
I mean, if you
shrink
could move
inanimate
it, then
objects.
sure.
There was just one problem. When he shrunk things, they exploded. Every
Whoops.
time.
I do not see the problem. Sounds like
I don't
a
either.
group way of blowing stuff up. Case closed.
Ray was determined to figure out how to shrink objects without blowing them up. But first,
Good for
he
him.
went on a hike with his nature club. And as a fellow scientist, I have to question his priorities.
But hey,
Hey, everybody needs a break.
I support it. Different hikes for different mics, am I right?
While in a cave, the ceiling suddenly
Who was
collapsed,
that?
trapping
I didn't
everyone
recognize him.
inside. After searching high and low for another exit, Ray found a small opening and had an idea. He could try to shrink himself down and get help. Even if it meant he
Oh.
might explode before he got the chance.
But he
Oh.
didn't explode. I hope this story has a happy ending at least.
Perplexed,
Don't worry, I'm pretty
there
sure it
must have
does.
been something special about him that made him uniquely immune to the explosive fate. Something super scientifically convenient that we never get any more information on.
So he got to work and created himself a suit to harness the power of the white dwarf star and became the Atom.
Adam uses
Yay.
the white dwarf fragment to decrease his size while having control over his density, which makes a lot of sense considering that white dwarfs have the mass of a star, like the sun, but their volume is more like the Earth's, making them among the densest objects in space.
Just
Indeed.
a teaspoon of the stuff could weigh up to 100 tons. That's one strong spoon.
When Adam shrinks,
Right,
he
but
shapes
then
his
why
head,
did- how did he move it?
Sending his extra mass to a dimension called the mass zone.
Where Adam could maybe live forever. At one point, Ray's apprentice Ryan Choi was murdered by Deathstroke, but willed some of his mass to the mass zone and was able to survive in that dimension. So these guys can potentially cheat death, but would be stuck there without any outside help.
But from one scientist to another, what's most impressive is Ray's creation of the Bio Belt. That's what allows Adam to use the power of the White Dwarf and shrink while maintaining any weight, from immaterial to his full 180 pounds. There's even been times where it's stated that he was able to become almost as dense as a White Dwarf star itself for a few seconds.
The belt
Cool.
is also how he can travel through phone lines or
I was good at it.
on currents or light beams. Over time, Ray has spread out the White Dwarf power to other parts of his suit, and now the Bio Belt acts as a utility belt for his shrunken weapons and tech. It
Cool.
also prevents his size or mass from being altered by any outside forces.
And while he can only increase his size back to
okay.
average 6 feet in height, his ability to shrink is near limitless. He can travel between subatomic space to the microverse, the foundation of all reality in the DC universe, where atoms become the size of planets.
Typically, he can increase back to his normal size with such force he can smash through diamonds. So if Adam increases his size too much while still within the microverse, he could blow up the entire fabric of reality from the inside out.
Shrinking
Whoops.
down to that size means that he can shrink small enough to rearrange atoms themselves.
Yep, Ray can take individual molecules and rapidly expand them to cook up a small nuclear blast in the palm of his hand. Oh, Ray Palmer. I just got that.
He also
Good
once
grief.
disarmed a bomb by rearranging its atoms. At that size, he can move at the velocity of light. So fast and so randomly, he basically acted as a barrier between any and all possible atom combinations. But come on, there's no scientific explanation here for him to have superhuman senses or awareness to comprehend being everywhere at the same time.
Ah, it makes total sense. If you're small enough, you can fit in almost everything, everywhere, all at once. Like how you can fit an entire pizza into a calzone, and then you have a whole pizza everywhere inside the calzone. Man, I
Boomstick.
get it. Science is
Boomstick with the pizza.
No! Science is all I have! Why are you doing this to me?
On top of all of
Oh,
Ray's
boy.
amazing inventions and abilities, he's also got some more classic weapons, like a laser blaster and a frickin' sword he used to fight a giant crocodile.
Sticky with the classic music.
That was when Ray was believed to be dead, but was actually just stuck at 6 inches tall and stranded in the Amazon rainforest, where he encountered
Oops.
an alien race known as the Catarthans.
And get this, he ended up leading a rebellion against their tyrant king and became the ruler of all the Kardashians.
And his heroism didn't stop there. The Atom was a very well-respected hero, and was even asked to join the Justice League of America shortly after it was formed.
He fought alongside Batman and his best bud, Hawkman. And
Yep.
you don't fight with those guys without picking up a thing or two.
Impressive combat skills aside, Atom's greatest contribution to the legendary team was always his incredible mind.
He once created kryptonite inside of Superman by realizing that if he gathered up enough Kryptonian protons, they would eventually become radioactive.
While stranded in limbo,
Okay.
Adam realized that if the Flash sped up the rate of a nuclear reaction's stellar evolution to exhaust its core, they could turn a fire demon into a black hole and use it as a wormhole to get back to Earth.
He's a brilliant, hard-working,
All right.
and determined scientist that never stops working on a problem until he's found a solution. I mean, if I figured out how to blow stuff up as well as he did, I would have stopped right there. I'm the hero that blows stuff up. Wouldn't even need to change my name.
Ray Palmer lived the dream, going from research scientist to legendary superhero. He picked up the pieces presented to him and built something greater than the sum of its parts.
Who knew this tiny titan with massive brains would have just as much brawn to back it up?
Hey,
All right, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
it's time for a death battle. Pause. All right, so that was a complicated one. I didn't get a lot out of that. Okay, so I still don't think that stats are going to be the big factor here. So that much I thought was right. They did mention, I forgot to mention this myself, but they did mention that that Hank has like image inducers that can trick Reed Richards, and I saw in a black box that that it could trick Ultron as well. So I think it might be able to get around Adam. I know Adam has his own sensors, but if they can fool Ultrons, then I don't think there's much that Ray would be able to pick up. But maybe I'm wrong. Thing is that I didn't really get a lot of info out of this that kind of convinces me that I was wrong on my initial pick, which is kind of what I look at when I look at these analyses. One thing that did catch my attention for Ray was his I guess that makes sense, but like him being able to like rearrange atoms, obviously. I didn't really consider the implications of that, because like maybe Ray could like shrink down and like mess with Hank's atoms basically. But I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the whole details, but I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that Hank has a resistance to it. Or at the very least has maybe not a resistance but a counter. They didn't really go into too much detail of what would happen if the bio belt were to be destroyed or removed. Well, this is a tough one. You know what I'm gonna do? I don't know if this is really cheating, but I'm gonna cheat. I am going to go with Ray. And I don't really have a lot of solid leads on that. I just kind of think, well, I wasn't really confident going in and coming in, and now that we're at the fight, I'm still not 100% sure. Again, though, I think it's the smarts and it's the numbers. It's the smarts, it's the numbers, and the skill. And I kind of think those are all in Ant-Man's favor. Oh, this is a tough one. This is okay, you know what? Screw the cheat. I am going to go with Ant-Man. I'm not backing down now. Let's just watch this because I need an answer for myself. But I'm gonna go with Ant-Man. So let's do it. Play. Hey, Hank.
You should pick on someone your own size, relatively speaking.
How did you do this? It's laced with a particle I've never seen before.
They're called Pym particles, and I'm Hank Pym, Scientist Supreme. You should have knocked.
What is Ray doing here, anyway? Oof. Uh-oh.
You're using pieces of a white dwarf star? That's cute.
Everything we needed already existed. You just needed to be smart enough to put the pieces together. Scientist Supreme?
Did you know that at any given moment,
Oh, here's
there
the
are
preview.
about 2.5 million ants under your feet?
I mean, that makes sense, but why are you bringing that up right now?
And preview over.
Long enough? Okay, let's try this.
Yeah, that didn't work. Alright.
I'll hack his belt. You lay low and let me know what you find. Huh?
Nice try. If I search every electron path in his gun and study their probability wave functions, I just might be able to.
Okay. The microverse. I like that.
What's happening? He must be reaching his limit. If we don't get out of here quick, he's gonna destroy all of reality. Now, my pets! You have your tricks and your tools, but I created something beyond the limits of human existence. I operate on a scale you can't even comprehend.
Overspace. Oh, it's eternity.
You can't be afraid to think big.
Okay. Alright, go Hank!
Both had many answers to each other's abilities and arsenals. Both were able to store various weapons at a shrunken state, both were trained in judo, and they both could obviously keep up with each other.
Stronger, more durable. Alright.
Though there was one small thing Adam couldn't answer to. The ants! Hank's bond with his pets lent him some small advantages, and Ray just didn't have enough anti-ant tools in his bio belt.
But in Adam's defense, the fact that he could punch with a fist packed with all of his mass meant that a close-up fight, while small, would leave Hank with few options since he can only punch with his normal human strength.
Even still, all Ant-Man would need to do is keep his dissed ants with the help of his insect confidants and devise another plan of ant-tack. Something Hank has no shortage of.
For instance, Ant-Man could alter Adam's size thanks to the Pym particle field he generates. Hank would just need to stall long enough to remove or disable Adam's bio belt, and he's had no trouble hacking enemy tech in the past.
But even with the bio belt busted, it wouldn't stop Adam's ability to shrink, since the white dwarf power is contained throughout his suit.
Oh, okay.
Only meant that Ant-Man could alter Adam's size.
Whereas Hank has literally rewritten his own biology to prevent outside size alteration. And while Adam's abilities are definitely impressive, they are limited, and Ant-Man simply aren't, at least by comparison. Hank could always match Ray's size or just take the fight to the overspace where he would have the edge, both physically and mentally.
The overspace can mess with the human mind, but we've seen that Hank can handle it.
But if the Scientist Supreme is really so smart, why didn't he just immediately go up Adam's butt and blow him up from the inside?
What's wrong with you, Wiz?
Stop.
Aren't you a fellow man of science?
This is the meanest thing you've ever done to me.
Adam sized up Ant-Man, but in the end, he was the one who had to say, Uncle.
The winner is Ant-Man.
Alright. Cool!
Thanks for
watching.
Cool. Stay tuned. We have a new Death Battle releasing every 2 weeks this year. And click the join button to get new perks and extra content. Planet level members even see Death Battles before anyone else, so don't miss out.
Alright, what's next? Oh! Wow! I was not expecting this early. Dark Souls versus Skyrim. Well, okay, so a bit of a backstory. I kind of knew that this one was happening because this fight was revealed at MagFest. This was a fight that was talked about at a convention, and Liam decided to drop that. Yeah, we're doing this fight. So okay, well, I mean, I knew this was coming, but I didn't expect it to be the second episode. All right, cool. I'm really excited for that fight. Even though I haven't played I haven't played either series, but now I have an excuse to. So there you go. Pray for me, because from what I've heard, they're not very easy games. I mean, as far as guessing the the winner, I mean, from what I've heard, the consensus seems to be the Dragonborn wins. but I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I guess I'll just go with the Dragonborn for now because it's the consensus, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, that was a cool fight. It definitely left me guessing a little bit. I thought Adam was going to turn it around at the very end, but guess not. But hey, my guess was right. Yay me. I didn't back down. I'm not a quitter. But anyways, no, that was a cool fight. It was very well animated. The voiceover was really good. The music was pretty neat. Yeah, hold on. I just need to remember. I need to get the names. Okay, yeah. Gavin Haman as Ant-Man and Chris Ocala as Adam. So yeah, cool stuff. Cool stuff all around. Yeah, the music's pretty neat. The actual combat was cool. I knew that the ant that Hank was talking to while inside Ray's bio belt was gonna play a factor somewhere, but I didn't expect it to be the kill. That was a gruesome one. But poor Ray. But it was cool. It was a cool fight. I don't really have a lot to say about it. The sprite work was neat. The dialogue was neat. Since I have it on the credits, DJ's edits on this one are amazing. He's a mastermind when it comes to this stuff. So good job for him. And just good job all around for this episode. I really enjoyed that. I'm so glad that Death Battle's back. It's been so long, and we're gonna go on a consistent run on these for the rest of the year. So I'm excited that we're in for a treat for this season. If this episode is anything to go by, Season 10 is looking to be off on a good start. And with the next one being as cool as it is, I'm excited. But all right, so that is basically all I have to say on the matter. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.